Welcome. Oh, wait, wrong camera. Welcome to the campfire.
I'm Tony.
I'm Peggy.
And we're two RV industry veterans who travel part-time
In a small trailer.
looking to share big adventures and help you with great tips,
Tricks.
and discounts.
We're trying a new camera setup today. So if we tend to look down here, please forgive us because that's where the camera used to be and that's where our notes are.
Yeah, we keep testing this whole. For those of you who are just listening on audio, which is the vast majority of you, we are still fiddling with the whole YouTube thing, and so we now trying out more and different stuff to see, how can we make this better or
not
acceptable,
not
horrible,
as bad.
right? I mean, we don't want you
Less
to.
bad.
We don't want you to. Wish that your screen would go out or whatever.
Maybe we'll find out that nobody likes our YouTube channel.
Hey, well, that certainly makes our
We'll
job
stop
easier.
doing
We
it.
prefer doing the audio, but that's the way it goes. Well, welcome
But if y'all are happy with it, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, we're here to serve you.
Yes.
Oh.
This week I wanted to remind people that in the past we have had 2 episodes on buying an RV, one on buying new and one on buying used. And for some people the season is just starting, and so you're ready to start shopping. And so if you are interested in hearing our tips, you can refer back to episodes 46 and 47 of the audio only podcast. And we give tips on how to buy a new RV and how to buy a used RV.
And there's a whole section on our website about RV shopping. A lot of tips that we think can really help you to not get, not get in a bad situation.
Right.
As a lot of you know, I used to work at an RV dealership, and I saw the things that people did as they came in, and boy, you could certainly save yourself a lot of money and heartache, especially after the sale. So
yeah,
those are 2 good episodes that are worth checking out, and the whole section we've put together about RV shopping. And if you're on our website, StressLessCamping.com, you just scroll down and there's the first row of boxes are the main topics, and then you go down and there's sections that we've built for different stuff, including how to buy an RV.
okay.
So there you go. Well, we did buy an RV.
Actually, we bought 2, kind of. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. We are in our 2205S Rockwood Mini Lite.
Rockwood Mini Lite 2205S.
2205S. And what we thought we would do is kind of talk about our almost 2 years now of owning just about 2 years.
2 years, and what kind of triggered this is our truck keeps track of how many miles we have on the trailer. Mm-hmm. And we've hit 20,000 miles. So it's like, ooh, what adventures have we had in here in 20,000 miles? And what do we love about this trailer, and what would we change about it?
So we kind of have a list. We might, go by the list. We might go off the list. Who knows what we're going to do, right?
Yeah, who knows? Because we're easily distracted.
But we tried to make some notes so that we wouldn't go all completely crazy. And so one of the kind of topics that I thought we'd cover was, what was our most anticipated trip? And this isn't necessarily RV trip, but when Tony and I met, for those of you who don't know, our first date was at Downtown Disney in California, and we ate at Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen. Well, Ralph Brennan's is a actual restaurant in New Orleans, and so ever since then, once we were approaching the 1-year anniversary of that first date, we said we should go to New Orleans for our date anniversary and have like real Cajun food. Well,
although that Ralph Brennan's is pretty legit.
Oh, right. No, I mean, but have Cajun food in Cajun country, right? We really wanted to go to New Orleans, and that was in 2003. And in 2023, last year, we finally, after 19 and a half years, managed to get to New Orleans.
Laissez le bon temps rouler.
So that was, I would say, our most anticipated trip. We didn't always anticipate that we would do it in an RV, but we did. And that was fantastic. And that was really a highlight of our RV travels, I think, overall.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it there. As, you know, if you've been listening for a while, we did a lot of coverage of New Orleans and our trip there and where we stayed at first at
Fontainebleau State Park, and then
with Scott and Alicia, right?
Yes, Scott and Alicia were there, and also Aaron and Christine and Maya were there.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and then we left, and then we came back because I found out about a busker festival that was happening at Abita Springs nearby, and so we stayed. And unfortunately, I can't remember. We stayed at the other state park in Mandeville and stayed there for a couple of days. So then we left, and then we came back, and we stayed at the other state park whose name I can't recall, and went to Abita Springs for a busker festival. So we were just there for a couple of days, just a little tag on to our New Orleans visit.
Well, and so busker is where people basically perform 4 tips, for lack of a better description. And there's been a band, Tuba Skinny, that I've been following for years and years on YouTube. And one of the reasons we went back to the Busker Festival is because they were the headliner, I suppose.
Right.
Or they were the last band playing, so I suppose that makes them the headliner.
I guess so.
But there were some other bands that were just...
But we did wait all day for them.
They were, and it was worth it because it was right by Abita Springs Brewing Company, too. So, and there's been a lot of breweries that we've visited.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
I don't think we can list them because we'll for sure leave some out. So.
Yeah, right?
We've probably talked about each and every one of them throughout the couple of years that we've been in this trailer. The furthest trip that we have done, kind of as a planned, in Trip Wizard trip, was when we went last summer. We went to Indiana for the Frog Rally, and then from there we joined Bill, and the 3 of us made a trip around Michigan, all the way through Michigan and Upper Peninsula together. And that trip from home to home was for about 4,500 miles.
By the way, we are in a couple of weeks going back to Michigan.
That's right.
For a Mini Lite rally.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. So it's a new part of Michigan. It's kind of a part that we haven't really been to yet.
It's probably not new to them.
Well, it's new to us. A new part of, Michigan just got this part.
Yeah. Wait, look, what the heck is that?
And then I thought, that has to be the furthest, and it was the furthest, but I didn't realize
in one trip.
Right, in one trip. I didn't realize how close second the next one would come in with only 4,400 miles, and that was when we went sort of through Tennessee and Kentucky into Georgia for an FMCA convention, and then that's the time that we went to New Orleans. And so that kind of circle back into the house back to home was 4,400 miles. So pretty close.
One of the ways, so Peggy, when we're thinking, this would be kind of fun to talk about, Peggy went through RV Trip Wizard, and you can see your previous trips and all of that. Yeah, I could see all the archive trips, so I can see which ones had,
most miles, most nights stopped. 50 is kind of on the upper limit of our nights away from home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 50 nights. Yeah, 50 nights away is kind of the average, average of our long trips.
Okay.
Of our what we call the big trips, right?
Yeah. As we said, the truck tracks the mileage. We have upgraded our truck.
Yeah.
Because we had our Mini Lite scaled, and it was neither mini nor light. And running the numbers, we really were better off in a 3/4 ton truck. And so we got one.
So we got one last October. So we've done a couple of our long trips with that truck. And what is your experience?
Oh my gosh.
Much better, right?
It's truly, when you're pushing the limit of a vehicle, it does it. We've been all through the Colorado Rockies with the older 1500, the Ram 1500, And it was fine. It did fine. It went up, it went down. I never felt unsafe. But the new truck, the 3/4 ton truck, it's so much more relaxing just because that truck is so much better in control of the trailer and just so much more capable that rather than being actually over the limit of that other
but
truck,
feeling at the limit, and now
really,
it feels like
you don't realize until you're driving it.
Now,
it's just so much more
that expression
enjoyable.
that I really don't like hearing people say, we don't even know it's back there.
Well,
you probably should know it's back there.
Yeah, but like with this truck, we changed two things at once. We changed the truck and we changed our hitch, and we went from what I thought was a fine hitch, it worked well, to the B&W Continuum hitch, and I love that hitch.
Yeah,
it's exceptional, and so the hitch is better, the truck is better, and the cargo carrying capacity of this truck, I believe, is 3,600 pounds, 36 or 33. And the tongue weight of the trailer is about 900 or so. And even like now we have our bicycles, our e-bikes, our electric e-bikes in the back of this truck, and way too much junk. And we are so far from going even
over
close
limit
to capacity that it doesn't, like, the thing that is my gauge more than anything are cattle trucks going the opposite way on a 2-lane road, and those things,
they can really push you out the road.
They just seem to really have and they're always in a giant hurry,
right? That's probably why they're more pushy, because they're
I think it's the
so
holes
fast
in the side of the trailer. That's
the
my
weird
suspicion.
aerodynamics.
Yeah, and so that those cattle trucks just really don't affect the truck and trailer at all. I mean, you feel a little like bump, right? But it's not like, it's not a two-handed experience. And it really was with the 1500.
You don't have to put your beer down. I mean, your coffee down.
Right. That's true. It's still one finger. No, don't drive like that.
So those were some long trips. What about like stories you're going to tell forever?
Oh, well, there's been so many.
There've been so many.
For example, there was a Boondockers Welcome that we stayed at, or was it a Harvest Host? Well,
I think that one was actually a Harvest Host. Yeah,
it was a farm, and it had been raining. What a shocker!
In Texas,
and the way they had this set up, it was kind of like a big circular driveway around some grass. And the only way I could get the trailer in was to go across the grass, even though they're like, don't drive on the grass. Man, I made a rut. I honestly thought he was going to have to pull the truck out with the tractor. So I think he said don't go on the grass because he knew the grass was really soggy and we would get stuck. I don't think he was like, watch out for my very pristine grass. No. Yeah,
it wasn't like a pristine lawn. It was just a grassy
It was just very
circle.
Muddy. And so that was
we did have to back up onto it.
Yep. The old truck was also two-wheel drive, and it had highway tires, and this one's four-wheel drive and has better tires for off-roading. Yeah, this one would have been like, I don't care that that's back there.
But that was it was kind of scary for a moment. I didn't think we'd get hurt. But I thought they'd get mad, and I thought for sure someone would have to pull us out.
Yeah. I'll share a picture. If you're watching this on video, I'll share a picture of the ruts because they were deep.
He made good ones.
I did. I was spinning my wheels like I don't know what.
So once we survived that and got actually parked, and they came and saw it and didn't yell at us, they just said, "Are you okay?" kind of thing. Then it's a funny story now.
Yeah,
but at the time I was like, "Oh no, they're going to kick us out."
But this was one of those guys, like a typical farmer, where it's like they just tell you stuff, and you can just see the wheels going. You ding dong, yeah, right.
City slicker.
That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, anyway, so.
So another time I was frightened, but not for the trailer. and I wasn't really frightened, but we've had 2 experiences where we have either boondocked or mooch-docked and got to ride in some pretty unique homemade sports cars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One was in Clearwater, Michigan, actually, and we stayed at this place, and the guy had built, well, he built a lot of crazy things, but he had built a little rat rod kind of thing, and it was so fun. It was the stick shift was actually a gun, like a rifle or a shotgun, that was used as a stick shift. But that thing, I swear, was an inch off of the ground. The clearance was so low on that thing. And they have driven it from Michigan to Florida. Like, they drive it on the highway.
Yeah.
Right? And so I knew it was safe, but still, being so low to the ground, I thought, if we hit a pebble, it's going to flip this car. And he went out on those farm roads and just flew down those farm roads, and then took me on a tour through town, took Tony on his own separate tour because there's only two seats.
Only 2 seats. This thing was so neat. Nice snort, by the way. This thing was so neat. It was an old fire engine, and so it had dual ignition systems. There was a magneto and a distributor. That didn't sound right, but anyway, it had dual ignition systems, and it was super low to the ground. It was just neat. So that's one of the reasons we love Harvest Hosts and Boondockers Welcome.
Yes.
Is the experiential nature of this.
Right.
You get to meet these people. I mean, some of them are just regular RVers like us, right?
Right.
If you
some of them you don't meet regular. At all.
Yeah, some you don't even meet the people. But these museums and wineries and distilleries and
alpaca farms, man. Alpaca farms are my gag.
Yeah. It's just, we love Harvest Hosts for that reason, because of the experiences like this rat rod. And if you're watching the video version of this, you'll see I took video of it. It was so fun.
So fun.
So.
Yeah. And then another time that we stayed, this was a mooch dock experience with our friend Byron, and he built
a Cobra replica.
There you go.
And Byron is one of those guys who is an unusual mix of both mechanical brilliance and electronic brilliance.
And super cool, because some of those guys are so nerdy. They're not even fun. And Byron does not fit in that category at all.
Well, Byron's the dude who bought our vintage trailer.
Yes.
And has since all the things that I'm like, I'll get to it. Well, he got to it. I mean, I think he's camping in it right now.
He made it campable. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all the stuff works. The old fridge, the water heater, the furnace, the 2 furnaces that are in it.
Yeah.
So all that stuff now works because Byron just is like, it's no problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Byron, I think it was a kit, Cobra, and he then wrote software for engine management and really turn this thing into a ludicrous hot rod. Well, which a Cobra is anyway, right?
Sure.
So he's taken us on these farm roads. Well, he wasn't finished with the software. So it didn't show the actual miles per hour. It just showed the tack. And he guessed that on some of these back roads. Now, of course, Byron lives in a country where there are no speed limits, so it's not like it's the United States or anything.
Not there.
But I think we estimated that we're going up like 140 on these back roads.
Oh, my heavens.
Oh, yeah. It was fantastic.
He told me a similar thing, but on the highway. Like, I think the TAC is telling me it's 120 now, and I was fine with that. I don't know. It's on the back roads. I wasn't worried about Byron or the car at all. What I was concerned was some farmer in a tractor didn't see him and pulled out in front of him, and that anyway, we survived it. It was a thrill, and I'm so glad we did. And we love Byron, and we love Boondockers Welcome.
Yeah, all these great boondocking, and I mean that's one of the reasons we bought this particular trailer, and we'll get into that. But it's really quite adept, at boondocking.
So there's a hilarious story that we think might be our funniest, I don't know, maybe our funniest memory. And when we had, so it was coming on winter. It had been cold, but we snuck up on our friends Scott and Alicia.
Yeah.
They were close to us. They were at Lake Cochiti, and they were pretty close to us. And so we and Michael and Mickey were going to go.
Well, and Patrick and Byron.
No, they weren't invited to dinner.
Oh, blimey, okay.
They didn't know them. So we were just going to go to where they were camped and have dinner with them. And what we decided was, let's just go camp and surprise them. And then we invited Patrick and Brian, and they also came and camped. But that's when they met Scott and Alicia. They didn't know them before, but they're all from Louisiana.
Yeah. So then I go to hook up you hook up your power and you hook up your water, blah, blah, blah. And the way we do our water is we do, obviously, the tap, the spigot outside. Well, what we had been doing is tap, water filter, and we have that clear 2.0. So it's sort of a two-piece water filter. There's a sediment filter that goes kind of outside a main water filter. And so we go tap, water filter, pressure regulator, air gear, hose, trailer. Because we figure, well, you want as much pressure as possible going through the water filter, right?
We might have been wrong.
Well, I'm not sure what the cause was, but that sucker exploded.
What I really think was, it was coming on the winter and we had a freeze, like a light freeze. But I think maybe because we aren't that good at remembering to get all the water out of that filter. So I suspect there was some water in the filter that froze and, broke the plastic, kind of cracked the plastic.
So when I hit it with the pressurized water, it was loud. It's like,
it was loud.
Bam!
The whole campground probably heard it. And
that was like, oh no, Scott and Alicia are
and Tony laughed so loud, I thought, oh, for sure our cover was blown. But
right? I mean, well,
because if they had heard it and looked out the window, you were right there out their window.
Yeah, I think first the sediment filter blew up, and so then I just put the water filter, and then it blew up
too. Yeah.
So it happened twice, and it was pretty loud, and we weren't that far from them.
Yeah.
And Scott said he heard it, and he's like, "What?" He thought maybe someone was shooting. I think
he didn't know what it was and didn't bother to look out to see. So
yeah.
So we still got to surprise them, and this makes me think of. It's probably on here somewhere, but we meet the greatest people under the oddest circumstances.
Yeah.
Right? And we become friends with people who are friends of other people, or we introduced Scott and Alicia to Brian and Patrick, and then they went camping together.
Yeah.
We love the whole
the
camaraderie and community of RV life.
Yeah, that can't be understated. It's incredible, the people you meet out here and the friends you make. Just this past weekend.
It actually is on the list. Oh. What do you know? It was almost next, so I guess this is one of those times we're going to mix up our notes.
So yeah, I mean, that group.
Yep.
Our friends in Rio Rancho are our friends because we met them through RVing.
Well, both couples that we have met in Rio Rancho contacted us and said, we listened to your podcast and we heard you're moving to our area.
No, Mike and Mickey, we met them at...
Oh, that's right.
They were there see Jason and Abby from RV Miles.
That's right.
And they ended up hanging out with us, and now we're really good friends.
Yeah.
But that's
we
how
just happened to move into their town.
And then Michael and Lisa were listeners,
that's
and then
right.
they escaped, and they're in Minnesota, which
Wisconsin.
is where... Yeah.
we became friends, and then they moved back to Wisconsin, so we didn't lose them as friends, obviously, but we lost them as camping buddies on a regular basis.
They live where winter is.
Yeah.
And then just this past week, we camped with Tony and Grace.
Yes.
Because they are fellow admins on our Mini Lite group, but we had never actually... Oh, we had met them in Quartzsite.
Yep.
That's right. And then...
So because they were listeners and because they also own Mini Lite, so that kind of ties together too. And when we were in Quartzsite in 2023, we had a small gathering, an afternoon gathering. In 2024, we had a week-long gathering in the desert. But in 2023, we had just an afternoon of getting around and talking. And Grace and Tony came to that, and we met them there. And then this year in Quartzsite, we did the big gathering.
The week-long gathering.
And Grace and Tony came and visited. They were very established in another site. They didn't camp with us, but they were there like every day. And
they have a cool gig. They are work campers at a
Corps of Engineers visitor center. So a lot of Corps of Engineers, Corps of Engineers is going to be places where there's water, right? They maintain waterways and dams and rivers and stuff like that. And a lot of those have great campgrounds, like the one that we were in last night. And this particular one has a visitor center where Tony and Grace volunteer, and then there is a campground, but it's a state park campground, but it's like this side of the lake is Corps and this side of the lake is state park. So, but you can oftentimes find, this is kind of a bonus not on the notes, a lot of times you can find great campsites at Corps of Engineer sites. A lot of times you can find those through recreation.gov. And actually someone told me about in Google Maps. If you use Google Maps and type in Corps of Engineers campsites, they show up on Google Maps.
By the way, cool. Corps is spelled C-O-R-P-S.
Yes, C-O-R-P-S.
But not an E, C-O-R-P-S. Because then you'd be dying to go there.
That's right. Anyway, so Tony and Grace, people that we met at Quartzsite.
Oh, and it's so funny. Like, speaking of Quartzsite, we met a couple this past year at Quartzsite, and then they happened to stay at our house through Boondockers Welcome. And then they were at Camp Carpe Diem.
Yeah. So they said, we would like to stay a couple nights at your house. We're on our way, passing through to go to Hot Springs, Arkansas. And I said, wait a minute, we're getting ready to go to Hot Springs. Are we going to the same place? And indeed we were. So that was cool. Now they are friends.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're super cool people.
Yeah.
And then again, Camp Carpe Diem, we met really neat people there. We talked about that. We have met a lot of people through, as we've said before, we have a Mini Lite fan club. Well, it's now Mini Lite Micro Lite, but Mini Lite Micro Lite fan club
group
that we
on Facebook.
started. Yeah, group on Facebook that we started because we had questions, couldn't find answers. And so I just was like, well, fine, I'll just start a Mini Lite group. And we did, and now 12,000 people later. Right. So we've met a lot of people, including now we're starting to go to the gatherings. In fact, that's where we'll be in 2 weeks or whatever, in Michigan.
Yeah.
That new part of Michigan that they just built.
They just got. And we went to one in Texas a little while ago. We had a couple when we lived in California.
Oh, yeah, we had our own.
We did have our own.
They were small, but that's where we met Michael Bracewell.
Yeah, and we love that people, they don't wait for us. They get. There was just one in Kentucky that we did not get to go to. The one in Michigan, the one in Texas, and these happen like every year. And so as Mini Lite owners, it's like a subset of Frog, which is Forest River Owners Group, and that's for any Forest River. And Rockwood is a Forest River brand. And so Frog has an annual, they have a lot of rallies, but they have like an annual international rally.
That one is a lot of fun. That's where we met Bill.
That's where we met Bill, and we've become great friends and travel partners with Bill. He's very patient with us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And helps us, when we're going to travel somewhere together. He's wonderful at researching and figuring out places we can go and remembering that we have to schedule work time in. He's better at planning than I am, even though I feel like I'm kind of good at it.
You're darn good at it. So yeah,
Where
the Frog
else?
Rally, Girl Campers.
Yes, Girl Campers. We've done a lot of Girl Camper colleges this year.
Yeah,
a few, and so we've met great ladies that come in like a little concerned about their abilities or their knowledge, and they go away both more confident and better friends.
And they're supercharged.
Supercharged.
And then we can't ignore FMCA gatherings.
Right. That's where we met Paul and Cindy.
That's true.
Yeah.
Our bacon buddies.
Our bacon buddies that we run into intentionally 3 or 4 times a year. We kind of plan our meetups a little bit.
Paul's the guy who, they boondocked at our house. And Paul wired our 30 amp.
Yes.
Paul is an electrician, and he wired our 30 amp. Not that we have a 30 amp outlet.
Shush.
So
it's not in a convenient place. So sorry, boondockers. It's really not available, but it is there.
Well,
I know.
We've been to so many places, and a lot of these were places that were kind of dreamed about places before we started this adventure. If you don't know, we call ourselves most timers, but not full timers, because we do still have the place in New Mexico where our junk gets to live.
Right, and where we go and visit once in a while and do things. I did write, so if you don't know, I've been writing, sometimes Tony, but we've been writing a daily journey journal. And so when we're out on the road, at the end of the day, we summarize our day. Sometimes it's kind of boring, yep, we drove. But, when we get to see great things, or when we're sitting for a couple days and we explore a little bit. And I forgot where I was going with this, but, so when we finished our last trip, I said, okay, guys, I guess we'll talk to you again in May when we leave for our next trip. And then the next day I thought, I'm going to tell people why I like being at home. Okay. And so I wrote a journal, the day after we got home, just to talk about all the things that I do like about being home for a little while.
Yeah, it's like a balance.
Yeah.
Places, as we've talked about, New Orleans was just a dream place or destination. And truthfully, we both absolutely loved Louisiana.
Loved it.
Hot Springs has been a place that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, we've been there twice now. We went with Camp Carpe Diem a couple weeks ago, and we went last year on our New Orleans, Georgia trip. And we really did like it. I would go again because even though we've been there and explored the town a few times, I think there's still a lot that we haven't seen.
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah. So that's a place.
We always, if we're going that direction, start our journey with the first 300-mile day to Amarillo, Texas.
Because that's where the big Texan steak ranch is.
That's where the big Texan steak ranch is.
There's some people who travel. Everybody has a reason that you travel, right? Some people travel for national parks. Some people travel for hikes. Some people travel for bike rides. For us, it's cheesy Americana.
Yes.
We love that. In fact, this week we have plans to go to the Spam Museum. I am more excited about that than I would be going to, I don't know where, some national park or the Natural
History Museum or
Natural History. I like Spam, baby. So Big Texan.
So we do look for crazy things like that, and one of the ways I do it is with an app called Roadside, and it is from Roadside America, and it you can say where you're going to be, and it'll tell you the crazy things that you're able to see. But we've just happened across a few things like he's adding things. Train museums.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, we've stayed at some.
We've stayed at some train museums. We happened across a couple of not real train, but model train museums or showcasings in Texas.
Gosh, that was amazing.
That was super fun.
The Corvette
Museum.
Yeah, that was cool. And we saw somebody take delivery of their new Corvette.
Yeah, we did.
I am so jealous.
That was fun. When we did in 2021, we did the whole Route 66, which that should have been on there as a dream, but we didn't do it with a 2205, so it didn't get on longest trips list. But We happened across,
Rockwood.
yeah, that was our first Rockwood. We happened across, well, we intentionally looked for muffler men.
Yeah, that's those giant fiberglass men from International Fiberglass in Venice that were made in the 60s. Although I found several of them are recreations, including my favorite, Buck Adam in Tulsa.
Well, we knew he was
who is getting a big fiberglass girlfriend.
Yes. And we also happened across the Uranus Fudge Factory.
It is every 12-year-old's dream to do the marketing for Uranus Fudge Factory.
Because the best fudge comes from Uranus, don't you know?
Yes, indeed. Yep. I love that.
Goofy, silly things like that, ridiculous museums, fun museums. A lot of those are harvest hosts. And so we get to spend the night in a safe place and then go check out the ridiculousness that somebody has collected over the years.
Yeah, if it's something that's ludicrous, we're interested.
We're probably there.
We probably have been there or plan to be there.
So what is we ask our guests this all the time, what's your worst camping memory? Our worst moment with a 2205 was in Kansas. We were sitting waiting for the guide truck in a construction zone, and we got rear-ended.
Yeah.
You probably all know this. This was in August of 2022.
And the trailer was only a few months old.
The trailer was 3 months old. We had it from May until August.
We had our electric e-bikes on the back, on a bike rack.
Yep.
And this lady just wasn't paying it. I don't know what her deal was, but she just plowed into us. And we were at a dead stop for
a good minute.
Like,
or two. Literally, I try not to, sometimes you go, I was there for 10 minutes. Without exaggerating, we were there a full minute.
At least. And it was a construction zone. So there were all these signs, watch out, flagman ahead. How do you miss a big white box in Kansas?
Apparently you do.
Well, she didn't. She didn't miss the big white box. So that trailer got totaled.
Right.
And then we were the first. So we are brand ambassadors for the Rockwood Mini Lite line. We apparently are the first Forest River brand ambassadors to total one of the RVs.
Yes.
Yeah. So then we got our second Mini Lite.
Our 2205, yep.
Yeah, and we
which technically is our third Mini Lite. We had a Mini Lite before the 2205, but we're trying to focus a little bit.
Right, on this specific floor plan. So we got the second one, and we have just been traveling.
As 20,000 miles, like you said. Yeah.
The funny thing is, about a week ago, we were in a campground, and you know what's funny? It was when we were recording last week's episode. So if you watch on YouTube, you'll see the people in the next site leave. The reason they left,
they had a bad power.
Yeah, they had bad power. And so the campground comes, oh my gosh. So they're sitting in a metal chair with the pedestal all open, right? And the guy's working on it. Well, he couldn't figure it out. So
which is good.
Yeah, a real electrician came. But in the meantime, since the site was empty, they looked up and there's a dead branch up there.
We better get rid of that branch.
So they got a pole chainsaw, and they couldn't reach the branch. So then they got a ladder. So they're up there on a ladder with the pole chainsaw. Well,
now there were helpers. There were two people holding that ladder while he was up there.
Correct. So, the resort we owned in Northern California, we had a lot of trees, and these trees, some of them were quite old. So we have a lot of experience with things falling down from trees. So with that, seeing that and hearing the chainsaw, I go out. I'm like, I gotta just supervise this, right? I go out of the trailer,
going out the door.
I go around and I hear kablam. Oh, that's not good. So the branch, when they sawed it, instead of sawing from the bottom up, they sawed from the top down. So then it makes a pivot, and that pivot whacked the ladder, which then came crashing into our trailer, which punched a hole in the wall in the trailer.
Yep.
On the outside. So
right
Yeah, basically just
right
behind
there,
one of the
on the side
cabinets.
wall behind the slide.
So, if you don't know the way this trailer and a lot of trailers are made, it's called a laminated sidewall, right? It's basically a bunch of layers glued together. So, to fix that, you could jury rig patch that, but it wouldn't be the same. So the solution is take it back to Rockwood and replace the entire sidewall. So now Rockwood has to pull the slide box out and take the entire wall off the side of the trailer and replace it with a brand new wall. Mm-hmm. That's how it's going to be fixed. And to their credit, the campground fully stepped up to the plate.
Yes.
They're working with Rockwood. They're gonna take care of the whole thing. So, and it was a beautiful campground and a great owner and great people there. We have zero complaints. It was a stuff happens type of situation. But unfortunately, the stuff happened to us.
Yeah.
So
why did we choose a 2205? Why did we decide that all of these adventures were going to happen in this particular floor model?
Well, a number of things. The size, and not just it's the right length for mooching in people's driveways. Right. We have mooched in several driveways.
Yes.
So it fits in all the national state parks, all of that. It's small enough to be maneuverable.
Right.
But with the slide room, and I'm a slide skeptic.
Yep.
But
this was when I wrote this on the list. He's like, "I'm not on a slide," and I said, "I'm sorry, but I don't think we could do this without this slide."
We could, but we
would be tripping over each other all the time. I have to admit,
it does add it's like a dance floor in here,
right?
So, and I also like the fact that it's a rack and pinion slide. It's not a cable slide. It's not a Schwintek slide. It is a proper through the frame rack and pinion slide. So in my opinion, that's the best type of slide mechanism.
Right. By the same token, the suspension is your favorite kind of suspension.
Yeah, it's a torsion axle suspension. And I watched another video of somebody with a fifth wheel where their old-fashioned buggy spring suspension failed again. And it's like, there are better suspensions out there. And that translates into a smoother ride, which means less potential damage to the RV. I also we actually use the 22-inch oven.
Yeah, so speaking of size, Tony talks every week about those ridiculous, stupid 17-inch ovens.
Because they're garbage.
They're not as tall, so I don't know if that's ever clear. We're not talking about width, side to side. They're all kind of the same. It's like inside is about 15 by 15, but the height... There are little shorty ones that you can cook a pizza in, and then there are tall ovens that you can actually cook a prime rib in, and we know because we did it.
And the 17-inch ovens also have real hot spots.
They do tend to have more hot spots.
So they're terrible. They're just worthless. So.
A lot of people put a stone, like an unglazed stone, in their pizza for evenness. We haven't even bothered to do that because as long as we keep an eye on things, maybe turn them once in a while, but I don't even remember to do that all the time. We have had phenomenal luck with our oven.
Yeah, because and so what I've been told is the difference in cost to the manufacturer between the 17-inch oven and the 22-inch oven is $38. So for $38, you're getting something that goes from being worthless to functional.
It's not worthless if you only like cookies.
Then you have some brown burn cookies and some raw cookies.
And it makes more storage. For those little tiny rigs that don't have a lot of storage, well, sure, but I'm just saying there is a justification for it.
No, there's not.
We don't want one. We wouldn't want one at all, but there are reasons to put them. We just don't like them.
No, they're not. It's a lot of money wasted on something nobody uses. However, now there are more and more RVs where instead of a propane oven, they're including a convection microwave oven. And that, I think, is fine. And
because that's what we use in the house, so we know that works.
Yeah. So anyway, another thing is just how these things are made. They are, 20,000 miles, we really haven't had
any major
failures. I mean, they are well-made trailers. Rockwood laminates their own walls in-house. They vacuum laminate instead of pinch roll. They use torsion axle suspensions. They use frameless windows. They even have a laminated roof, and just on and on. There's a lot of aspects of build quality where this is a good trailer. And people who say, "Oh, Forest River is like General Motors of the 70s."
Right.
They make some great stuff, and they make some stuff that's clearly price focused.
Yeah.
And because that's what the market demands. So these are well-made trailers. I'm very pleased with it. And also, they do a lot of things that are better features, like they use the high-performance Max-Air fans. There's a shower miser, so that helps you save water when you're boondocking. It redirects the water back into the fresh water system. You like the storage.
The storage, inside and outside storage. We, with the 1905 with the Murphy bed up front, we had these 3 little tiny cabinets that we had to, really organize and keep things in. When we got the 2205 with the whole pass-through under the front of the bed, even though a lot of it is taken up by the power package, I wouldn't skip that for the universe, but even with that space taken, we have so much space in that pass-through. Now, we do fill it, don't get me wrong, but we, the fact is, all those things that we need are there's room for them. And then inside, we've got 5 kitchen drawers. We had 1 kitchen drawer in the original trailer. We have 2 pantries. We have cabinets in the bathroom. We have the closets, and then the over the bed cabinets, kitchen cabinets, these cabinets. We have room really for all the things that we feel we need for 50 days on the road. So
yeah, it's amazing how much interior storage there is, because we have looked at some other RVs.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's great. And then we're like, oh, yeah, we wouldn't be able
The floor plan is terrific, but there's 1 closet and 1 kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
Like, where are we going to put all our stuff?
But one of the best features is the power package, and that is something, we talk about ABC Upfitters every week, and we were introduced to them from our friends at Rockwood, and we hadn't heard of them before, and they're like, well, this company creates these lithium and solar systems for both individuals and for companies like Rockwood. So Rockwood looked around, said, who makes really great systems? And they chose ABC Upfitters. And part of the reason is they use all Mastervolt power systems, which are used in the marine industry. They are very high quality. Mastervolt makes all of the components, and so there's no this company pointing fingers at that company, blah, blah, blah. Basically, if you have any questions, the folks from ABC Upfitters are there to answer them. They're very responsive, especially there's a Power Package Facebook group, but they're very responsive to questions and honest. They are also good at answering their phone. So if you're looking for your own solar and lithium system, perhaps give ABC Upfitters a call. They really do an exceptional job. They listen to you. They have a whole range of systems available that they can put together tailored to what you plan to do. Do you just need a battery to keep the 12-volt fridge running? Do you want a ludicrous system that you can run air conditioners off the grid? Whatever it is, they can help you put this together and do it with high quality parts that all work together. I mean, we've had 0 issues with this system at all. We don't even bother when we get home. If we're off, we're off the road for a while, we just leave the fridge running and use it as a household fridge.
Just use it as a refrigerator. What do you want for dinner? I got to go to the camper and get it.
Yeah, I mean, and so if you want that kind of reliability and quality, ABC Upfitters is a great company to work with, and you can give them a call at 574-333-3225. That's 574-333-3225. And they're good people. What if I put it there?
See the link right there.
But quite honestly, we have been so impressed with both them and the system. So.
Now, we will add then that is one of the reasons that we are in a 2205. We were ready for a new trailer, and we thought we might want the 2109. And Rockwood said, well, we'd like you to test out this package from ABC Upfitters, and they need, because it was new and they were still practicing, they need you to have a trailer with a drop frame. So you need the 2205 or the 25 whatever, and we didn't want to go that big. We didn't want 25. So we agreed to the 2205. So that adds 3 more features to the above the 2109. They're almost exactly the same, but the drop frame, which gives a bigger pass through.
It's huge.
I have crawled, even with the ABC system in there, I've crawled through it twice because we've got things in the way of the door latch, and I had to crawl through and move things out of the way of the door latch. And then also in the 2109, the difference, we have a fireplace, which we didn't really care about. We're like, what do we want a fireplace? But I got to tell you, when we are hooked up right now, we have that fireplace. It gave us a little heat this morning, but mostly it's a fire. It's, obviously fake, but it's pretty. It's like adorable.
Well, yeah, we thought it was kind of silly. We're like, silly. What do we want that for?
But it's actually a little electric. It's a little electric space heater. Yeah. So it does have function as well as just cuteness. And then we have a pantry that the 2109 doesn't have.
Yeah.
So those 3 things, like now that I have them, I would hate to go back.
I wonder, we need to have the trailer scaled again, because you're right, we have a lot of storage and
we use it.
There's nothing that's not full. So.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So what would we change about this?
What would we change? Well, I'm not so sure that we feel that we need the windshield. Well, I know we don't need the windshield because we covered it with a padded cover that's Velcroed on the outside over a year ago and have never taken it off.
Well, and then part of that is because we chipped the windshield within the first 2 weeks of having this trailer, and we chipped the windshield in the last trailer.
In the one that was only 3 months old, had a chip in it.
I would say I would love that windshield if there was a doggone cover like in the old ones.
Yeah.
There used to be a lift-up cover, and
so we could actually use the windshield when we're parked, but we aren't chipping the windshield when we're driving. The windshield in Murphy bed units, I don't understand at all.
Well, because there's only one nose cap
there's
for
a nose,
all the
right,
Rockwoods.
and that's what gets put in.
Yeah, I think the windshield is silly.
So that is something I would have been perfectly fine without.
Let's talk plumbing, shall we?
Well, let's do this real quick. Because I wrote another note. I called it the Tower of Power. So in the kitchen, there's the sink, there's some counter space, and there's the stove. This is the 2023 model. In the 2022 model, the stove was closer to the sink and the counter space was all kind of on that side of the stove. I don't think it had a tower of power. And by that, I mean one of those pop-up power towers. I don't know. That has, it's got that lay flat, what's it called? Induction charger on top. And then it's got like 2 electrical outlets and 1 or 2 USB outlets. It's very, very handy. But because it's in the countertop in the center between the sink and the stove, we can't put things all the way back to the wall, which is a window, so maybe it's better that way anyway. But in the old one, I don't think we had a tower of power, but the counter space was all on the other side of the stove, so we could kind of put things over there and they were out of the way.
There is a flip-up countertop
There is a countertop extension. There's plenty of countertop, and it works really well for us, but sometimes that tower of power kind of feels like it's in the way. But I wouldn't want to be without it. So
okay, now I'll get to plumbing.
Now you can get to plumbing because it's going to take a minute.
The RV industry loves to use PEX clamps on braided tubing, and it leaks. I have not talked to anybody who are longtime RVers who has not had a problem with this. RV industry, you need to quit doing it, because we have now had our water heater fixed 3 times, from the doggone PEX clamp failing and the hot water line coming off. And I know there are connections behind walls that I can't see, and that bugs me. RV industry needs to stop doing PEX clamps on braided lines, period.
Now, the fact is, they use both PEX and braided lines.
PEX is fine.
If it was all PEX with PEX fittings, I mean, that's a great solution.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the use of braided line because it's flexible, and like coming out of the water heater, it would vibrate the whole plumbing system, the water pump. If you have a slide room, you need flex. So I understand the use of flexible line. Just put the right
fitting on it.
Yeah. And that's, you get that RVIA sticker on your wall when you buy a new RV. To me, this plumbing practice, and it's universal in the RV industry. There are very few companies that don't do this, but it makes it worthless. So the RVIA, that's what your plumbing sticker has value to RV owners. Nothing, because fix it so I don't keep having to fix it and wondering what's going on behind walls.
Now, some manufacturers are changing that, right? They recognize
Keystone,
the problem.
For example, doesn't do it.
And really, when you talk to Rockwood, they had a excuse, but a kind of a legitimate excuse is when we have a when we have a plumbing problem, we're camping somewhere, we fix the problem, we don't take it in for warranty because if we take it back to our dealer, chances are we're going to miss the whole season just for one little leak. So in their defense, they didn't know they had a problem because there were no warranty claims. People aren't calling Rockwood every time and say, "Hey, I had to fix my plumbing today."
Right.
They kind of weren't that aware.
Well, and it's a common practice in the industry because it's fast and cheap.
Right. So maybe
needs to stop.
Maybe it'll start getting changed a little bit.
Well, I'm not going to be quiet about it.
Right.
It's a terrible practice that needs to stop.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Okay, so what would we change?
What did we change?
No, I'm sorry. What would we change? We already talked about that. What did we change? Well, obviously, we took the theater seats out of the slide.
Well, it's not obvious, but we took out the theater seats.
Yes, so this usually comes with theater seats, the 2 recliners with the little center's console.
And a TV.
And a TV, which we don't have anymore. So we took, in the original trailer, which I call the summer trailer that got rear-ended, we had taken the theater seats out and bought these office chairs. So when we got this trailer, Rockwood said, well, if you're going to take them out anyway, we're not going to bother putting them in.
Yeah.
So we have our little office. We've got these plastic tables that we use as desks, and we've got our office chairs. And the theater seats are super comfortable if you're just going to kick back and watch the television.
We don't watch TV.
We don't watch television. So we needed office space. So that's what we changed in that.
We also asked them not to put the shower enclosure in, and we built our own out of PVC pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Or PEX. I'm sorry, it is PEX pipe.
Is it?
And PVC. Yeah, it's PEX and PVC.
Oh, okay.
We swapped out the refrigerator for a Dometic fridge.
We did because we like the Dometic one better.
We changed the door latch for an RV lock.
We got an RV lock. We did get a ghost bed mattress, which, everybody changes out the mattress, so that's not a surprise. We just happened to get a ghost bed. And we got a hole drilled in, not punched in, but drilled in on purpose.
That hole is different.
For the Starlink cable to go through so that he can have his cable. We can have the dish outside and the router inside. And we used to feed it through as we were opening the slide. And we decided that it was a lot easier to just have a hole and everything can be stored in the pass-through.
Yep. And a few other little stuff, but that's effectively what we've changed.
So we've been talking a lot, and we just looked at the clock and realized we filled up our hour already.
Yeah.
And so we're going to stop here, and we're going to come back next week with all that other stuff we usually do. How's that?
The stuff you should know.
That other stuff.
So Well, then in conclusion, we just invite you to join us on the various socials. Find us on our website. Be part of our mailing list where we only send one email a week. And with that, we sincerely appreciate you joining us about our Rockwood Mini Lite, in our Rockwood Mini Lite. And most of all, we wish you
stressless camping.